Hey everybody, welcome to the Danger Zone podcast. This is a solo episode 17. It's covering the Senate Judiciary hearings on the appointment of Judge Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court. That's been happening over the past couple of days. I've listened to over 11 hours worth of hearings and testimony and questions given from the Senate committee. And unfortunately, because of scheduling and because I want to get my thoughts out right now, because this is happening right now and it's ending today, and I believe there's a possible vote later on today, or possibly it's already happened, if depending on when you're listening to this. So Chris and I just schedule wise, we're not able to sync up and sit down and talk about this because he's busy with stuff and he's heading out of town right now. So he and I will probably revisit this at a later date and we can discuss it together. But it's something that has been on my mind. It's something I needed to get out. I needed to speak my thoughts on everything that's going on. So that's why this is solo. The Vince and Chris show will continue as usual, except for this little guy right here. So I hope you take something away from this. If you disagree with me, we can talk about it. If you agree with me, we can talk about it. That's what this whole platform is for. It's for discussions. It's why me and Chris talk to each other. It's exactly why we created this channel and this podcast. Is for discussions, to get our thoughts out, for you to be able to get your thoughts out back to us, to talk about things, keep conversations going. So I didn't get everything out that I wanted to say in kind of thinking about what I spoke about. But I hit the main points. I talked about the major things that I wanted to address, and I did the best that I could. It was free form. I wrote down a couple of notes, words here or there, just to cue me to make sure that I address those issues, and that's all it is. So these are my thoughts on what's been going on. I hope you enjoy it, take something away, agree or disagree, it's fine. We can talk about these things, keep the conversations going. So let's get right into it. Episode 17, Danger Zone Podcast.
Highway to the danger zone. I'm gonna take it right into the danger zone. Highway to the danger zone.
All right, everybody. For the past 2 days, I've spent more than 10 hours listening to the Senate Judiciary hearing on Judge Kavanaugh's possible appointment to the Supreme Court in the United States of America. After listening to the testimonies of both witnesses, Dr. Ford and Judge Kavanaugh, and the hearing committee, the senators involved, the chairman, and Senator Feinstein, there's no way after that much time sitting and listening to this that I couldn't sit down and do some sort of a podcast. I have no idea how long this is going to be. But I have to get my thoughts out about what's been going on, what's been said, how I feel about all of it. And that's what this is going to be. You don't have to agree with me. I might not have all of the facts, but I've listened to a lot of the testimonies. I've listened to all of what the senators have had to say over the past 2 days. And it's been infuriating at times. Most of the time. It's been infuriating most of the time. There have been people that have come out and said great things. Today, Senator, I can't remember his name. I'll include him in the intro or the outro. Said some wonderful things that made a lot of sense, that seemed very sensible, that should be things that everybody should be able to support. And unfortunately, a lot of the senators, Republican senators, have not been able to do that. I don't have anything prepared. I scribbled down a couple of words, notes, to try to stay on some sort of a track so I don't get too far off, but who knows where this is going to go. I'm going to do my best to try to stay focused, but for me, that's nearly impossible. So a couple of things starting out. I'm going to start out talking about Dr. Ford's testimony. I heard nothing, saw nothing in her testimony. For the most part, I tried to watch this. I don't know why there's really not much of a difference, but I wanted to see the way that everybody presented themselves, how they reacted to things, and just mannerisms and any body language that you could see. I think it just gives you more of a sense of what's going on and how the person feels and all of that. That wasn't always the case. I was driving, I was listening to NPR. But having said all of that, I didn't see a moment of Dr. Ford's testimony. Jesus, I just got out of the gym too, so there's that. I didn't see a minute of her testimony that did not seem wholly credible. Having said that, there's also the fact that she was submitted herself to a polygraph test, of which she passed. It showed that everything that she was saying was credible, that she believed it, that it was something that was factual. Besides the polygraph test, everything that she said within her story remained constant. She was measured throughout the entire delivery of what she claimed. Everything that she said was consistent with things that she had said in the past. She answered questions from both sides of the aisle, professionally and passionately. There was not one thing that she said that I did not believe, that anybody should believe. There's a problem when people come forward who are sexual assault victims, survivors, whatever the vernacular is supposed to be, I believe it's survivors. And people don't believe them. People like Senator Lindsey Graham, who throughout every time I heard him speak, did nothing but claim that Dr. Ford was a victim, not of any attempted sexual assault or physical assault, but that she was solely the victim of the Democrats Party trying to use her as a pawn within this judiciary hearing. And I'm not saying that the timing isn't fucking perfect for them and whoever it was that came forward and disclosed this information of Dr. Ford's letter that she had written to Senator Feinstein and I believe another representative of California. I'm not saying that the timing's not fucking perfect. That it should have been a confidential, it should have been handled confidentially. Dr. Ford didn't want to be exposed. She shouldn't have been exposed. This could have been handled without the press having leaked it. We didn't need to have this public hearing. This is something that the Judiciary Committee, the FBI, and everybody could have handled behind closed doors. Dr. Ford wouldn't have to be under the scrutiny of the American people, which is fucking disgusting. That's another thing I want to talk about, which maybe this isn't exactly the right time. But people that attack Dr. Ford, and even to some extent Judge Kavanaugh, and the insane death threats that people get via the internet from anonymous fucking sources, maybe not anonymous, maybe people on Facebook or Twitter or whatever the fuck it is, where you can find actual people behind their usernames or handles or whatever the fuck that shit's called, is fucking disgusting. Every single one of them should be ashamed of themselves. There's no cause for anything like that. The anonymous beratement of somebody that you don't know is... I don't have the words right now. It's disgusting. It shouldn't exist in our society. There's a great Black Mirror episode actually about this that I was thinking about yesterday. I can't remember what it's called, but it deals with that exact subject. Since I can't think of the episode, it basically, you could probably Google Black Mirror Robot Bees episode. Check that shit out. That deals with the heart of what I was just talking about. So besides that, coming back to the past few days and the hearings, Dr. Ford gave an impassioned testimony, while Judge Kavanaugh acted like he was taking fucking pointers out of the President Donald Trump playbook. Not taking what was being asked of him seriously, which in my mind is not even anywhere remotely close to the demeanor that a fucking Supreme Court judge should have. You should be a measured individual. His whole life has been spent as a trial lawyer and a judge who is basically interviewing for the highest possible chair a judge can sit upon, and yet can't even collect himself enough to give honest, decent answers to the questions that the fucking committee submitted to him. It was laughable the way that he fucking conducted himself. And yet not laughable is infuriating. It was disgusting. Now, having said that, I'll admit that the Dems didn't do a fucking great job sometimes. This is the shit that I talked about before with Chris. Also, Chris isn't here. Sorry, buddy. I had to get this one out on my own. Not that I wouldn't do it with you, but I had to get this shit out. The Dems did a fucking shit job of shooting themselves in the foot. And this is the shit that we talked about before on another episode, if you guys haven't heard it. We talked about it with the Me Too movement. We talked about it with gun control. Just quickly in another episode. But the fact that people try to inflate issues, okay? For example, the Dems sat there and pulled out Judge Kavanaugh's fucking yearbook from high school. Think about that. Anybody listening to this, think about what may or may not have been written in your high school yearbook. I have no idea what was written, but I guarantee there's some salacious shit in there. Some inside jokes among fucking teenagers, okay? That aren't even grown adults, you know? And I'm not saying what he did and the perpetrated assault against Dr. Ford is not something that he can be responsible for as a teenager. I'm talking specifically about quote fucking yearbook entries. There's some shit where they were asking about things written. Why was the 4th of July written with 4 F's in front of it? Oh, okay, it was an inside joke because one of his friends liked to say fuck. And he would accentuate the F sound. So that's why there was 4th. Why the fuck are you even asking him that shit? There was another quote, something about boof something. And you have Judge Kavanaugh having to sit there and say, it's about flatulence. Okay? This is the shit where the Dems sit there, or anybody who starts to fucking lose credibility over nonsense. There's no fucking reason you necessarily need to go out and pull out his high school yearbook. You know what? If you have that information, how about we do a little bit of research? Pull some shit out of there that is credible. Judge Kavanaugh in his high school years showed a propensity for getting drunk beyond obliteration, blacking out, doing offensive, ridiculous things. Okay, there you go. Bring that shit up. Don't talk about this silly bullshit about why does the 4th of July have so many F's and what is this boof thing. Like, come on, man. Do a little bit of research and don't make yourself look like a fucking asshole in front of the nation when you can be taking this shit seriously and asking more serious, deliberate questions. Okay? There's plenty of shit you can ask this man who's sitting in front of you after you just heard the testimony of fucking Dr. Ford. It's ridiculous. Okay? Do a fucking better job. That's all I'm saying. Come on, Dems. Republicans, do a fucking better job. You're representing the country, your constituents. Do better. All right, I talked about Dr. Ford taking a polygraph test and passing all of that. So besides the fact that whether or not you think she's fucking credible, or you didn't believe her on the outset, or you didn't believe her actual testimony that she just gave before a committee, which was wholly believable, she submitted herself to a polygraph test, which she did not have to take. All right? So anyone sitting on the fucking committee, Lindsey Graham, who sits there and doesn't give any fucking credence to what she has said, or doesn't see the truth in what she said, is a fucking asshole and a liar, and I don't even know. And then to compare that to what Judge Kavanaugh did over yesterday's hearings is ridiculous. I know I talked about what Lindsey Graham said a little bit, and it was disgusting to hear. His beratement of people and the treatment of Judge Kavanaugh was infuriating. I understand where he's coming from to an extent. I do. This could have been handled better. It didn't have to be publicly. It didn't have to be done in this public way. Maybe it did. I don't fucking know. You know what? I take that back. Maybe it did. Maybe it eventually did. This could have been handled like Dr. Ford wanted behind closed doors, at least at the outset. If it moves into this public hearing, then okay, that's what it had to be. Maybe that is what it eventually would have had to have been. Okay? But it didn't have to fucking start that way. Someone leaked this shit when they didn't have to do that. Against the wishes of Dr. Ford. Lindsey Graham's categorization of Judge Kavanaugh as a great man, a decent, honorable person, seems completely unjustified after hearing what we just heard from Dr. Ford. I don't care what age you are. There's no fucking way I was a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid, anybody who thinks that any sort of assault perpetrated on another person is anything but reprehensible at any fucking age. And that shit should follow this man, and that should be a part of his characterization as a human being and the way in which he carries himself just in his life. All right? There's no reason why that shouldn't be taken into consideration. That shouldn't be a truth that fucking Lindsey Graham or anyone else sees. I'm trying to stay on topic right now. It's fucking hard. I'm pissed. Like I said, I've been listening to this a lot. And I'm trying to convey what I wanted to say. I don't even know if I'm doing a good job. If I'm not, let me know. We'll try this again. All right, as for the timing, I'm just going to say one more time that Lindsey Graham seemed fucking despicable during this entire hearing. And it's fucking gross. And I'm going to say one more time. The only time that Lindsey Graham specifically mentioned Dr. Ford being any sort of a victim was at the hands of the Democratic Party and her being used as a pawn. Not in the way that she was attempted to be sexually assaulted by Judge Kavanaugh. That she was physically assaulted by Judge Kavanaugh. Lindsey Graham apologized to her for the way she was treated by the Democratic Party. It's fucking disgusting. He should be ashamed of himself. I don't know how the fuck in his mind, literally it is that he just doesn't believe her at all. He doesn't see any part of her testimony as being credible. I'm not saying that he doesn't believe that she believes that this happened to her by Judge Kavanaugh. I don't know. I can't, you know what? I take all of that shit back. I don't know. I can't speak for Lindsey Graham. I don't know what the fuck he's thinking, but I know what he said. And it was gross. It was the most Donald Trump-esque fucking retort to her testimony, to this entire hearing, to everything that's been played out. And it was, for somebody that I know that has stood up against not a lot, some of the things that Donald Trump has said and stood for, it was disgusting. I'll leave that at that. Fuck you, Lindsey Graham. All right, there we go. I feel better now. I needed to say that. I needed to get that shit out. All right. So additionally, honestly, if none of this is even enough for you to be upset about the way that our fucking Senate, our government is handling this, I'm going to go on, but this is more than enough already. Dr. Ford also was willing to submit to an FBI investigation. And this is also fucking infuriating to me. The goddamn Republican senators sitting on this fucking committee, I'm going to curse a lot today, are sitting there saying that an FBI investigation will lead to no conclusions. So why are we doing it? Okay, look, and Lindsey Graham, maybe others, I can't remember. Memory's failing me. It's not great. They generally quoted Joe Biden as having said that the FBI conducting an investigation will not lead to any sort of outcome. That's not the word I'm looking for. Will not lead to a definitive answer to what needs to be done, or there won't be that. So basically the FBI can go out in their investigation, gather information, create a 302, I believe is what it's called, and submit that information to the committee. Lindsey Graham and others and Republicans are sitting there saying the FBI is not going to come up with a definitive answer as to whether or not he was guilty of perpetrating these alleged crimes, right? That's fine. That doesn't have to be their fucking job, okay? Their job is to go out, interview people. They can talk to Mark Judge, who was in the room and also helped perpetrate the assault on Dr. Ford. They can gather evidence. They can speak to witnesses, credible witnesses, okay? If Dr. Ford's testimony and everything that she has done up until this point isn't enough for you, which it fucking should be, all right? And the FBI can gather information, which can be provided to the committee, who can deliberate and put fucking pieces together and come to a conclusion, a definitive conclusion. All right? Lindsey Graham and others are sitting there saying that the FBI is not going to come to that conclusion. Yeah, that's not their fucking job. They just go gather evidence for you. Why would you not want that to happen? Why would you stifle that? Okay? For the people that, for them on that side that don't believe Dr. Ford, that believe that Judge Kavanaugh is wholly innocent, why not fucking allow it to happen? Well, allow some more transparency. Allow more people to speak about the incident. Have them present that to the committee, and that's where you take evidence and come to a conclusion. We do this shit all the time in the community that I worked in the Navy. Anybody listening to this, you know how this works. Okay? And to say that just because the FBI won't come to the conclusion fucking for you, and that's reason to not have them even initiate an investigation, is silly. And I know the chairman said any Senate member sitting on the panel can request an FBI investigation. All right, somebody, and I know people on the Dem side have said that they've already issued that request. Okay, great. But let's let that happen before we go and put a fucking vote on this guy, on Judge Kavanaugh. Okay? Everybody's worried. I know. The midterm elections are coming up in November. That shit's 2 months away, month and a half, whatever, something like that. Okay? How about, to appease everybody, because I know the Republicans are freaked out that this is a power grab, that the Dems, and this is another thing to speak to it, they're fucking nervous, okay? If they thought that in the midterms they were going to keep their little red seats, they would be less inclined to try to push this through as fast as fucking possible. But they knew they're losing that shit. They know they're losing fucking red seats to blue seats. They know that shit. After everything that the government has done, everything that President Donald Trump has said, and the things that he has implemented, they know that Democrats, hopefully independents, they're going to try to take, that if they see fit to try to take power away from Republicans and this fucking circus that we have right now, are going to come out in droves. They're going to win seats. I don't even say we're, because I'm not like a Democrat or anything like that. I'm just me. I'm independently me. I say things as I fucking see them. I don't give a shit which side anybody's on. All right? Right now, I'm very sided with the Democrats. So I see that they're nervous. They're scared. They have to get this shit passed now before they lose those seats, before they can't vote in Judge Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court. Hugely important. This is huge. It's a lifetime appointment. Okay? So it is crucial to both sides as the way that they see it. Damn it. I forgot what my point was already. Shit. Damn it. I'm so sorry, everybody. This is just how I live my life. Thoughts come in and thoughts go out. This may be a good moment for me to sit and laugh a little bit, because this is infuriating to me. So, what I was talking about originally, my main point was submit to an FBI investigation. Let's gather some more evidence so that we can possibly sway and convince the non-believers, which, again, is ridiculous that I feel like we even have to do that. But put a time limit on it if you really need to. That's fine. Have a vote before the midterms. I get it. Republicans. Fuck yeah, you want to do that. The Democrats would do the exact same thing in the same situation. It's politics. I get it. The way that maybe Dr. Ford's information and her story and everything was leaked, again, possibly, probably, potentially, was a political move. Sure. That's what the fuck, that's politics shit, okay? It's not the best way to handle things. But I understand where they're coming from with that, okay? So let's put a time limit on this FBI investigation. That's fine. Let's have the vote prior to the midterms so you guys don't lose all your seats. And he definitely doesn't get voted in because that shit ain't happening. All right? Give him 3 weeks. 3 weeks. You guys get another 5 days to go over the information. Come to a vote. Fine. All right? I don't think it's necessary. There's no reason we shouldn't be able to go to a vote right now and have everybody question the integrity of Judge Kavanaugh and vote no. We can redo this. Republicans, you're not... There's ways that this can be handled other than doing this. It's like this hearing and the testimony of bringing Dr. Ford forward, all of that. The fact that they haven't subpoenaed Mark Judge to come forward and testify and be given a polygraph test, be questioned by the committee is insane to me also. The person that was in the room, allegedly in the room, hasn't been subpoenaed to fucking testify before the committee on behalf of Judge Kavanaugh or Dr. Ford or whatever. We haven't, the fact that we haven't heard from him publicly is pretty crazy to me too. And this isn't even a criminal fucking trial. Judge Kavanaugh is not being, he's not being put in front of a trial or anything like that. I don't know the statute of limitations. It's probably not even possible at this point, like most things, but so and with the FBI investigation, you have Dr. Ford who is willing to submit to that, right? If the FBI comes forward and says that the things that she's saying were untrue, unfounded, she's lying, then she can be prosecuted for lying under oath to the committee. And she's willing to submit herself to that. On a number of occasions yesterday, while she was being interviewed, she vehemently said that she would be willing to submit herself to an FBI investigation. And she was just so confident in what she was saying is true that she was willing to do that. While on the other hand, Judge Kavanaugh avoided the question on several occasions. Oh, that's up to the committee. That's not for me to decide. And he just deflect. He was asked specifically and directly on numerous occasions, why don't you look over right now to whoever, blah, 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 blah. I can't remember the White House. And say that we can suspend this vote and you will submit yourself to an FBI investigation. Oh, that's not for Judge Kavanaugh. Oh, that's not for me to decide. That's for the committee to decide. Blah, blah, blah. Like, come on, dude. Come on. If you're so fucking confident in what you're saying, and if you are being honest, nobody says that this vote doesn't have to happen before the midterms. Okay? I get that the Dems are going to push it as far as they can. If they can get past that shit, they will. But we don't have to do that. Okay? Not once did he say that he would submit himself to an FBI investigation. Which for me, besides all the other ridiculous things, he didn't take it seriously at all. He was talking shit to the senators that were asking him questions to the committee. At one point, one of the female senators asked him directly, a Dem, if he had ever blacked out before from drinking. He skirted around the topic and basically kind of said no. He said no. But it wasn't even like a credible no. Because, come on. I've been there. I don't know anybody that's listening to this that maybe hasn't been there. All right, if you haven't, that's great. I've been there. All right? And I am certain that he has too, despite what he said. And him turning around and said, Senator, have you ever been blacked out drunk? The defensiveness that he had through all of the questioning, the retorts, the gesturing, everything that he did while he was being submitted to questions, besides the allegations, I felt they were unbecoming of a person who was going to sit on our highest fucking court. It was gross. It was disgusting. I've said that a lot. I keep using those words. I need to thesaurus this shit up and mix it up a little bit, but it's the correct characterization of what was happening. It just is. I don't know what else to say. I guess that's kind of rounding out what I had to say about this. Everything that's been happening in front of the public is a step back for anyone who might be a sexual assault survivor, attempted survivor, an assault victim to come forward. Because despite everything that Dr. Ford did and submitted herself to publicly, the harassment and the death threats that she's received for coming forward, which shouldn't have been publicized, publicly published, could have been handled behind closed doors. We have that in the military. Come on, man. We have that in the military. There are strict fucking rules to keep things aligned with sexual assault from becoming public so that people are more comfortable and more willing to come forward so that there's that protection for survivors. And that shit didn't happen. In the highest offices of our government, I can have an 18-year-old E3 in the military, and I expect them to honor that system, to honor the wishes of somebody who is a survivor of sexual assault, an attempted sexual assault, any assault of any kind, to remain anonymous. At the highest levels of our government, they couldn't do that. Our system is broken. It's gross. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to be saying this kind of shit because of the job that I have, but I don't care. I'll be like the chick that was in D.C. that was riding her bicycle and flipped off the president's motorcade and was subsequently fired from her position. That's fine. They can't take our voice away. I don't care who we work for or what we do. You have to speak your truth. I think that's hugely important in all aspects of what we do. Kind of getting emotional now. I don't know why. Shit happens. Like I said, I was at the gym. I'm just like, ugh. So I think that's rounding out basically everything that I wanted to say and get off my chest. I know I'm gonna finish this. I'm gonna say I didn't talk about this. I didn't talk about that. I know that there's more to be said. But I think I got most of what I wanted to say across. I did the best that I could. I know I'm not necessarily very deliberate in the way I deliver things. The manner in which I deliver them. Or the timeline of events in which I deliver them. But I'm doing the best that I can. I just want to say this. I know like one person's going to listen to this anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But that's fine. Let that one person hear this. I'm just getting my thoughts out. That's it. That's what this is for. It's what me and Chris try to do. We try to be unapologetically honest with ourselves, with what we say, with what we see, with what we talk about. And that's the point of this podcast and what we do and what we create and what we put out. So that's what I'm doing here now. I hope Chris listens to this and he's okay with what I just did and said. Hope he's proud of this moment. What the fuck am I talking about? All right, whatever. Don't have to be proud of shit. I don't give a fuck. I'm just saying how I feel and what I think. That's it. So, all right, that's it. I'm done. I'm calling it. I'm tapping. Thank you for listening. Dudes, pay attention to what's going on in the world. Pay attention to what's going on in our country. Talk to each other. Have discussions. Put things like this out. Create your own podcast. I'll listen. All right? We'll go back and forth. Send me, if you don't want to write in the comments, send me an email. All right? DM me. I'll send you my email and we can talk back and forth. Shit, I'll have you on the podcast and we can talk about anything. That's all this is. Let's get ideas out. This is the best way for me to convey how I think and feel. Writing things down, I'm terrible at that shit. I just can't do it. But I'll talk for a while. I've been talking to myself for 30 plus minutes now. It's probably because I'm mostly crazy. All right. Thank you for listening. I somehow feel better. And that's it, fuckers. Let's do better as a country, as a nation, as people, as individuals. Let's fucking care a little bit. And like I always say, let's be good to each other, all right? All right, that's it. All right, everybody. That is a solo episode 17. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to sit and listen to me just go for a while. Obviously, it was something I was passionate about, as you can tell from the episode. So I apologize for all of the cursing that took place. If that's something that you don't enjoy, I apologize. It's not meant to offend anybody. It's just something that happens when I get going, and it's just, I just speak what my truth is, and that's all that is, and that's what this episode's about. That's what all of our episodes are about. So, again, thank you so much for listening. We love you, and we appreciate anyone taking any time out of their day to listen to us talk about things. We will be back on Monday with episode 18. Back to the usual format of me and Chris sitting down and hashing things out, as it will be forever and always going forward, unless I gotta do one of these again. I really hope that Chris does a solo, because I want to listen to that shit. So let's all nudge him in that direction. I don't know. All right. Thank you again. If you're enjoying this stuff, please like and share so other people can hear what Chris and I have to talk about. If you agree or disagree, I keep saying that, but it's the truth. Just keep conversations going, and we will be back on Monday. And until then, and forever, please be good to each other. We'll see you then.